further out from the ice wall. And we use that as we use the heavens as a navigational tool. This star can lead us to what? Another continent. So they don't want they don't tricked us. They signed a treaty, and guess what they did completely? They completely blocked that whole area off from the continent.
This is reality. It is truth stranger than any fiction the world has known. There is no physical end to the Earth's northern and southern extent. The Earth merges with land areas of the universe about us that exist straight ahead beyond the North Pole and the South Pole points of theory. It is now established that we may at once journey into celestial land areas by customary movement on the horizontal from beyond the pole points. It is also known that the fly course from this Earth to connecting land area of the universe about us, which appears up or out from the Earth, will always be over land and water and vegetation common to this Earth area of the universe whole. Never need we shoot up, as popular misconception demands, to reach celestial land existing under every luminous area we observe at night. On the contrary, we will move straight ahead, and on the same physical level, from either of theory's imaginary pole points. Confirmation of such a fly course is headed that of the U.S. Navy Task Force of February 1947, which penetrated 1,700 miles beyond the North Pole Point, and beyond the known Earth. Additional and more recent confirmation was acquired by the flight of a U.S. Navy air unit on January 13, 1956, which penetrated 2,300 miles over land beyond the South Pole. There is no space whatever between areas of the created universe.
Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. An area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
There's more continents out there. They created this prison ball, and they want us to just pretend or believe that this is all that's out there. There's more continents out there.
The origin of these creatures is essential to mankind's survival.
The interior of the Earth is made up of vast caverns and air pockets, joined by natural avenues.
The Admiral begins his expedition, searching for an entrance to a hidden world.
The purpose is the discovery and the release to the world of the unknown treasures of Antarctica in the interests of all mankind.
Members of the Lost Party were never seen again. Still no word on what may have happened.
There's an ecosystem out there, the likes of which we can't imagine. And the place to find it is this island.
Machine of ours, which has made this victory possible. To work for peace, we can look forward to the greatest age in the history of mankind.
Speed of progress in the satellite project cannot be taken as an index of our progress
in ballistic missile work.
I feel we're on the brink of an area of expansion of knowledge about ourselves and our surroundings that is beyond description or comprehension at this time.
For the first time, we're putting cameras into space and looking down on the Earth, allowing us to discover places and things we've never seen.
The most intelligent inhabitants of that future world won't be men or monkeys. They'll be machines.
We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained, whether this new ocean will be a sea of peace or a new terrifying theater of war.
To tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that.
The lost city of Antarctica, massive ancient civilization, lies frozen under ice. Antarctica is hiding a huge city underneath more than a mile of ice, according to incredible claims. They talk about the Piri-Reis map, and they say, look, it's got the subglacial topography of Antarctica before they were supposed to know what it was.
Under the ice, about 2 miles under the ice, there's a huge industrial complex. Buildings all over the place. It looks very industrial. Smoke coming out of them, steam coming out of them, very human looking. And there were giant submarines under the ice that had popped up that were the size of, I guess, the giant ships that carried the big shipping containers. It was huge, and I saw these submarines being unloaded with giant cranes that were reaching in the top that rolled back and pulling out these giant containers.
You got these triangular craft down there, all kinds of excavations going on.
You know, there's people down there that went missing for 2 weeks back in the 90s, and now these people are missing and haven't been found yet. Maybe there's a correlation there.
The U.S. government said it will seek to block the airing of a video found by Navy rescuers in Antarctica that purportedly reveals that a massive archaeological dig is underway 2 miles beneath the ice.
So while the Allied powers invaded Europe, the Nazis basically took a lot of their advanced R&D, research and development, and brought it down to Antarctica. They already had a strong presence in South America here, so they started developing bases in Antarctica. Because what's amazing is that under the ice, there's actually caverns, tunnel systems.
I, for example, have been to Antarctica. I have seen the Nazi base. What is that in the history books? How does that work? I was there. They brought me in because of the bioluminescence. They wanted to know how the light was worked down there. It's a cavern below the hot springs, probably a mile high with clouds, weather, and there's a Nazi base. Yes, it'll hold 19 submarines. Oh, what's that over there? That is a 14th century Viking base. They've been there in Antarctica for many centuries.
We went over this sort of a bay of warmer water that was lapping the shores next to this industrial area I saw. And instead of flying in the direction I thought we went straight down the way that these submarines came from. And we ended up entering this large rift system that is the West Antarctic Rift System or something like that. And we went very deep underground and traveled to this rift system that had been tunneled out by some ancient alien race that allowed you to travel from Antarctica all the way up to Central America and the southern and southwestern parts of the United States, all completely underwater.
We were verbally told we couldn't say anything, to forget about it, but I never signed the non-disclosure of anything that I did while I was serving in the Navy.
In Antarctica.
In Antarctica, yes.
Giants that have been in hibernation in stasis chambers for thousands of years are awakening and are being sought out by elite military forces, according to several independent sources.
A team led by geologist Scott Amundsen of Wyoming State University came across the rubble of a stone building roughly the size of Rome's ancient amphitheater. The beings that have been found under the ice are mummified. This is actually a real mummy. Not one of the pre-Adamites, obviously, but this is kind of what you're going to see that they look like.
They're removing the bodies of what's called the pre-Adamites. Pre-Adamites were the species built before us, genetically engineered before us. They have a much longer skull. Sometimes the skull goes straight back, kind of like Nipitiri, and other times it flattens out, kind of widens to the back, much like the Greys type of skull. And they're taller, and they have a funny body because they have a longer or more vertebrae in their backbone, so it's kind of long. And then they got the little pot belly. The way Akhenaten is portrayed in the images from Egypt, they have those type of bodies. So that's what they're finding down there. These beings, there's also giants down there and dinosaurs that were flash frozen. The mastodons, I understand, are 3 times the size of an elephant, and they were flash frozen. And from what I understand, they're removing these bodies. They've been down there for over 12 years, filming, removing, very sophisticated technology. And they're eventually going to have some sort of tour down there, I guess you can take, and walk through these ruins. They know that there's the tropical jungle down there, I believe 65,000 square miles. That was all flash frozen. So Antarctica was at one time a tropical location, and it was flash frozen very quickly. Plato puts it right at about the same time and finds it 9,000 years before him. And he said it all happened in one day. So if the explosion occurred within a day, Earth would have sort of corrected itself. But anything along the periphery where the atmosphere was completely ripped off would have been flash frozen.
Subglacial lakes. So these blue areas are beneath the surface of the ice. The surface is all white and you just see ice. But if you go in there, they know that there are areas where there are lakes, meaning this warm water. 2 chunks of Antarctica, there's a big chunk on the right, a littler chunk on the left. We only knew that since 1958. Here we have from 1754, the Buachi map from the Vatican showing Antarctica with a channel in between the middle right where those subglacial lakes are.
2 of the huge pyramid structures were found approximately 10 miles inland. The third one, not from the coastline, is clearly visible from the ocean. The team are currently planning an expedition to reach one of the pyramids to find out if it is a natural or artificial structure.
So the first thing to be aware of when it comes to Antarctica and how it's involved in ancient history is understanding that humans have been here for a little bit longer than just a couple thousand years. And there has been advanced civilizations that have existed before us. Now, their advancements have been a little different. They're not quite as mechanically advanced as we might be now, but they understood a lot more of the esoteric sciences. And there's a lot of evidence, amazing amounts of evidence, to show that there has been advanced civilizations before this one. And how that coincides with Antarctica is there's a lot of research showing that one of these advanced civilizations could very well be buried under the ice in Antarctica. Now, some people think that it's Atlantis. Antarctica, you know, a lot of stuff under the ice.
Taking an idea I got from a Stephen King book, I'm going to cover this town with a dome. It's been done. Really? Did you know about this?
Coming this June, last summer's #1 show returns. Dome.
Fly those?
Absolutely. Do you get to fly to the edge?
Oh, yeah.
What's past there?
Don't know. We're not allowed to fly past that.
Let's go.
It's against the rules, Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, the giver. When the elders need guidance, I provide wisdom using memories of the past. Our world was different. There was more.
More?
Much more. There is no way for me to prepare you.
Right before your surgery, I asked if you had packed your cell phone, and you said, which one?
When? Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet.
Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
was a surprise.
Big surprise, yeah. It's cold out here.
Yeah, it is. It's like the South Pole.
It's like the deep South Pole, if there was one. There isn't, though.
Thanks for locking me in my door.
Why you put them rats in my locker, man?
I thought it would put things in perspective for you.
No, Kay, it's actually kind of sad, man, really. We need to let them out of there. I mean, they need to know the world is bigger than that. Still a rookie. Mom?
Douglas.
Yeah,
Look, I can explain.
I know the truth.
Where are you?
You could call it the end of the world.
What would you do? What would any of you be willing to do? Would you brave the weird and haunted shores at world's end?
Those mountains. That's it.
Do you see what's out there?
Yes.
If you tell me to make it, I'll believe you.
I'll make it. We have to.
I just want to stand on top of the wall and piss off the other world.
En el principio creó Elohim los cielos y la tierra. En ese único versículo se encierra.
An aviator, he's a pilot, and he leaves at 0600 hours. That's 6 o'clock in the morning. He flies out and he headed north. He gives updates as to his flight, to turbulence that he gets in the air. He drops his altitude, raises his altitude, standard procedures of any pilot. He has constant radio checks with his base, so they'll know where he is. They keep up with him. And back in those days, they didn't have GPS and all of that stuff. He continues to talk to them. He's flying over the ice. He's flying over the North Pole. And what do you expect to see? Nothing but ice. That's what you expect to see. One sheet of ice after another sheet, just solid white ice, snow, the North Pole. Until he sees a creature down below, which looks to him like a mammoth, and he drops his altitude to about 1,400 feet, and it is a mammoth. This begins to really get his attention. He sees a mountain range, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, so now he's been in the air for 4 hours, he says he crosses over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below in the Arctic. No green valley. And something is definitely wrong and abnormal here, he says. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side, port is left, starboard is right. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning, and the reason they're spinning is because he's approaching magnetic north. And the magnetic pole, if you ever get around the magnetic pole, you forget your magnetic compass. It's not going to work because the magnetism is so intense and the movement is so great that it's no use to you. But in any event, he says his navigational instruments are spinning, the gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. Then he sees this beneath, and he says, at 1,400 feet, I execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or some type of tight-knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn, and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible, he says, yet there it is. He decreases his altitude to 1,000 feet and he takes binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed it is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. At 10:30 hours, he encountered more rolling green hills. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. He's in the North Pole. Continuing on our heading now, navigation instruments seem normal now. I'm puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp, radio's not functioning. And now what follows is one of the most incredible things I've ever read in my life. And let me put it in the context of this. When Satan showed the Lord Jesus Christ the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, he did just that. He has power. There are things going on that there is absolutely no physical definition or logical reasoning to, but the existence of it cannot be denied. And this is what's happening here. In 11:30 hours, countryside below is more level than normal, if I may use that word. Ahead, we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God, he says, off our port and starboard wings, a strange type of aircraft. They're closing rapidly alongside. They're disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It is a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We're caught in an invisible vice grip of some type. 11:35 hours, our radio crackles and a voice comes through in what appears to be in English with what appears to be a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral. You are in good hands. I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some strange control and is now turning itself. The controls are useless. In plain words, he's been taken over completely. Now, up to this point, you're going to say to yourself, well, this is a madman. Or you may say to yourself, I know the power of the devil. I know how he can deceive. And what follows, he is taken into a city by blonde-haired men who look like these Aryans that Hitler and the rest of them were talking about in Germany. And then he's finally taken to their leader. And when he's taken to their leader, he has a conversation with him. He's their master. And that master tells him that essentially that they've been observing us on top of the earth where we live for a long time, and that we have gotten to the point by killing each other. And they're talking about the atomic bomb that had just been recently dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know those two. And they were saying that we are going to have to do something with the people who dwell on earth. They tell Admiral Byrd that he's an honorable man, and he asks him, why am I here? They said, because you're chosen to be here. You're a man that we can trust. We're going to tell you what's happening. We're going to tell you all of this. They tell him. They send him back. So he goes back and he tells his superiors. And apparently they tell him to hush this up until right before he dies, this diary comes out. Because he said, I cannot leave this world without letting humanity know what has happened.
Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us.
It's further out from the ice wall. And we use that as we use the heavens